Alright, welcome to another RStudio tutorial video. This one is just about some basics, both in RStudio and RStudio Cloud. I'm going to start in RStudio Cloud, or what is now called Posit Cloud. Again, this is for your tablet or smart devices if you don't have your own computer. The coding is identical. It's just the platform is a little bit different. With the different platform or the cloud-based platform, there are a couple things that you need to know. So when you log in, excuse me, this should be your first page. You would click New Project, and we would want a new RStudio project. This does take a little bit of time to deploy the project. The big thing to remember with the cloud version is that you have to upload the files to the cloud prior to being able to do any work on them. So at some point you do need to be on a computer that has the files that can then upload those to the cloud. Okay? And it's very easy to upload files. It's just that you can't really do it from your tablet if you don't have the file on your tablet, right? If you can put the file on your tablet, that's great. If you can get the file on your phone and then upload it, that's also great, right? But if you don't know how to put files on your tablet or smart device, then make sure you get that on a computer prior to coming to class or to doing the coding itself. Okay? So again, three windows here: the console, the environment, and the files window. Again, we were going to add a fourth window. This is the script, this upper left, where we actually do the coding. The console is where the output occurs. You can code in the console, right? I would recommend not doing that as a beginner, because as soon as you hit enter in the console, it runs that line of code, where in the script we can type out the code and then run line by line, and it helps us find errors quicker and easier. Okay? The environment is where we're going to have all of our vectors, our data frames, our objects, right? And the files, plots window here will be where all our files are. When we create a plot or a figure, it will pop up here. Okay, but this script is usually closed the first time you open it. So we just added, we click New File, and we selected the R script. Okay. Now we're going to upload a file that we need to work on. So we can just click on Upload Files to Server. This is where it puts it, and that's where you don't want to change this. Okay, this will be the folder that you work on. We can change the title of the project here beforehand, right? And so that's my workspace. And now if I go File, Upload, then you can simply just use your windows to browse towards the file that you want. We will be dealing with CSV files throughout the semester, and we can just click OK or Open and then OK, and that will now be uploaded into the cloud server, and we can begin working with it. Okay, that's different from what we would do if we were using RStudio and R that are installed on our laptop or our computer. But you have to upload that file first if you're using RStudio Cloud. Okay. And that's about the extent of what we're going to do in RStudio Cloud. Now we're going to switch to RStudio itself. Okay, again, excuse me, when you open it up, you should see the three windows: File, New Script. Now we have the script window, the console window, the environment, and the Files Plus window. Okay. This is what it should look like. Again, yours is probably a different color, so that's in Tools, Global Options, and click Appearance. I think the Mac version just has an appearance option up on the top menu. But now I can select my theme and my color and my font. So personally, myself, I like to have a dark background with light coloring when I code. It's easier on my eyes. The default is a white background with black text. You can simply play around and see which one you like best, right? So I think I have Tomorrow Night's Blue on as the editor theme. We can change Some of those, I'm not going to change mine because I have it set where I want it. But again, if yours like, well, my screen's all white, it's simply an appearance function. So now that we're in RStudio, we've got our 4 windows open. The first thing we need to do, well, let me back up. You should have already downloaded a data file. So sometimes in class we'll type data right into RStudio, and I'll show you how to do that later in this video. But normally we will provide you with a data set as a CSV file. So you need to go to Blackboard, download that, and know where that file is on your computer. That's different for Windows and Mac. So generally the students that use Macs or Apple computers, that's their biggest problem, is they don't know where the file downloaded to. You need to know the default location of your downloads because that's where the files are. Those files need to be moved into the file or the folder that you're going to work out of this semester. I suggest on your computer you make a, this class could be Bio 151L, whatever semester, right? Make a folder for the class that you're working on and have all your files there. That should happen first. Then we open up the program. Once we open up the program, the first thing I want you to do, the habit you want to get into, is to set a working directory. This tells the program where to look for files and where to save files. Okay. Again, this is a computer program. It can't do everything with no information. It needs to be given specific pieces of information. So right away we need to tell it where it has to look to find our files and to save our files. There's 2 ways to do that. Session, set working directory, choose directory. And actually, let me, I'm going to increase the zoom here so it's a little easier to see. So again, at the top menu, I'm going to click on Session, go to Set Working Directory, and then choose Directory, and it'll pop up a browser, right? So I'm going to use this folder this semester as I create those videos, and I'm just going to click Open, okay? And we can see down here now it's in the console it output set WD, which is Set Working Directory, and there's the path link, or path detail. So if I go to that same folder here and go to Properties, right? Here I can see the path to that folder on this computer. And that's what RStudio is looking at. Notice now these are backslashes. RStudio does not like backslashes, so it changes it to a /. Okay. I can manually set the working directory by typing set WD. And again, RStudio, so here it's going to try and help me finish my code. So as I type set, I'm going to go set WD and then start with parentheses. I'm going to simply copy and paste this because I'm bound to make some typing errors. Okay. You could copy and paste it from your computer, but you're going to have to change the forward or the backslashes to /. Again, RStudio does not like backslashes. Okay. But the set WD, that's the command, set working directory to this folder. Okay. Now I can hit enter. That hasn't run it. Up in the script, it doesn't run unless I tell it to run, which is why we have you code in the script, because then you can make mistakes and they're not as confusing, right? So I can run this several ways. I can put my cursor there and I can hit the run button right there. Now we can see that it did that. Or I can put my cursor there and hit Control Enter. Oh, no, here, Control Enter. And there it ran the line of code again. So again, the easiest thing to do is to use a drop-down menu, Session, Set Working Directory, and then browse to the folder. That folder should have the files you want to work with in it, and that should be where you save everything, where R saves everything that you tell it to create. Okay. You can type that out, again changing the backslashes to /, but you need that pathway correct, otherwise it won't work. If I click over here on my files, now I can see that all of the files that I have in that folder right here show up here. Okay. We can type data directly into RStudio. So let's say we want to create, oops. So let's say the variable we're just going to call x less than slash, and that's assigned to lowercase c. Upper versus lowercase is important in most functions, so be cognizant of whether you're using upper or lowercase. In this case, I want a small c. That's concatenate. It's basically saying that, okay, create this item called x, and to x assign what I put in parentheses here. And so here I can, if I just want to create a variable of numbers, I can just type that out. And so now x is an object that's assigned these values: 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 9, 12, 14, 15. Run that, and now in my environment I can see I have an object called x. It's a numerical, and these are the values. There's 9 values: 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 9, 12, 14, and 15. Right? I could do the same thing in a categorical or qualitative variable. So here, let's say I have y less than dash assigned to c. If I'm going to assign text, it has to be in quotes, so I can say yes, no, no, right? So if I want RStudio to know that it's a categorical variable or a qualitative variable, I have to put it in quotes. Otherwise, it's going to assume that it's numbers, or it will give you errors. Okay. Oops. As I'm clearly demonstrating here, typing data directly into RStudio can be troublesome. So again, an uppercase y versus a lowercase y would be problematic, right? So this is why we provide you with data sets that you will upload rather than having you type all the data into RStudio itself, but it can be done. So now I created the object y. It's a character, 9 of them, yes, no, no, yes, and so on and so forth. Okay. So I've created 2 objects, x and y. These are what we would call vectors because it's essentially one variable of values or one column of values. I can convert that into the data frame. So let me just I'm going to create an object called data. And then I'm going to do data.frame. Excuse me. And then I'm just going to give it x and y. Oops. And now I've got this little blue circle with a white triangle in it called data. So I've created a data frame with 9 observations of 2 variables. Okay, so now I've taken 2 columns and put them into a table, or 2 vectors, and bound them together in a data frame called data, right? And so I can look at the structure of that data frame by saying str for structure and data, right? And that puts it out here, x and y, numerical character, right? I can ask to view the data with a capital V. Okay. And it opens it up here. Here's an X and here's a Y. 9 variables, or sorry, 9 rows of 2 variables. So in our data sets, our columns will be our variables, our rows will be our individual samples. Okay. I can do basic descriptive statistics in R without having to know any real fancy coding, right? So I can ask it for the mean of x, and here it spits out 7.66. I can ask for the variance, VAR of x. Oops. Too many parentheses. And the standard deviation of x. And down here in my console, so the mean was 7.666667, the variance was 27, the standard deviation was 5.196. Okay, so I've done some basic descriptive statistics of data that I entered directly into RStudio. Again, the coding would be the same on the cloud version. It's just you wouldn't have to set the working directory because that's your project folder that you've already created. And if you were going to work with files, you need to upload those files in advance. Here, if we want to work with a data set, a file that's already in place, again, that file needs to be in the folder that you've specified as your working directory. This is where RStudio is looking for everything and looking to put everything that you create. Okay? So the file has to be in this folder. Okay. I'm going to create a new object, a new data set. You'll notice that I have these underscores here. RStudio does not like spaces. There's certain characters that don't work well in RStudio. So both in the data set itself and coding in R, you'll see that I often don't put spaces. We put those this underscore right there. Okay. So here I'm going to say, okay, data 1 assigned to, and then I'm going to click or type read. See, and RStudio is going to try and finish this for me. Read.csv. Now I just have to type the name of the file in, and because I set my working directory, I can actually see all the files here. Let's do survival data.csv, and yes, you have to type the .csv. Okay, and RStudio is going to finish that for me, and I can run this line, and boom, now up here in the top right, data 1, 94 observations of 2 variables. Again, if I want to take a look at the structure, or I want to view the data, I can do that. So there's the structure, 94 options of 2 variables. There's treatments. Treatment is 1 variable. It's a character, control. It gives me the first view here. And the second one, excuse me, is days survived. It's an integer. And gives me some examples there. If I view my data, it opens it up here, and I can see all 94 observations that I have. Okay. You'll see that I continue to do this. I think it's a good habit to get in. You set your working directory right away. You're going to bring in your data set. Then you want to check the structure and view the data set, just to make sure what you've brought in is what you think you're bringing in, right? Otherwise, you go through the whole thing and maybe you either had the wrong file or there was an error in the file, right? Like I said up here, if I would have put a lowercase y or a lowercase n and the others were uppercase, it would think that those were different categories between the uppercase, right? So let's say I wanted to know that I have 3 treatments, but if I spell one of the treatments 2 different ways, it's going to think I have 4 treatments, right? Excuse me. Okay, so again, files, download them first. Take them from where they're downloaded, put them into the folder that you want to be your class folder. Okay. Open up RStudio or RStudio Cloud. If it's RStudio Cloud, you're going to upload the file to the server, then you're good to go. If you're using your machine, you're going to move the file, set the working directory, and then we can import the file and be ready to work with it.